So welcome everybody. Marie Pierre, we are connected. So we are with Carolina, Netijyata and Praatika. So we can start now if you want. Are we ready to start?
I mean, I'm ready to start, and I'm sure they're all ready to start. But I want to see their faces. I don't want to see
them. We're here. Hi, Marie Pierre. It's been a long time.
Ciao, ciao. I love that. It feels like a L'Orèal advertisement, you know, like because we are worth it. No, it's true. You're beautiful. You're super beautiful.
I told you, I'm gonna dress up. You too. You have long hair now. Like last time I saw you, you had short hair. It's nice.
No.
And I recognize your home. You're working from home today, right?
Yes, I mean I have to say that in Milan, it's more rare the moments where we are in the office. Then I enjoy it. It's nice. Are you in the office?
Yes, we were supposed to do like 50-50, 1 week at the office and 1 week at home. And last week, Jean-Paul Agon said, "Okay, everyone back to the office now," just before summer vacation. I'm afraid they were. Yeah, like no home office nearby the beach. I think this is what they were. With the French vacations, everyone is gone for 5 weeks, and then you do a home office by the beach.
But I have to say that it's now we're getting used to it. Let's see. Now in Italy, we have a lot of people who are still now doing smart working. Probably in September, people will start to go back to the office. Can I see Pra? Ciao.
Right here.
Good afternoon.
Ciao. Good afternoon.
So before we do, because we're a small community, but maybe for the people who are following us, let's do a quick round table, okay? With now so that you can present, you can introduce yourself. So I would start with let's start from the east. Let's start from the Indian girls.
Neti, do you want to go first, alphabetically? Hello.
Ciao, Neti.
Hi, Marie Pierre. How are you?
Super cool. Now, just one question, Giuseppa, if you hear us, because like this, I really have the connecting the dots image, and I think that even for our guests, probably it's also nicer if we can see the faces. Can we get rid of the? The nice poster?
Yes, of course. Just let me welcome everybody and tell everybody that this is Connecting the Dots. So it's a webinar organized by the Career Service, and it's organized with our alumni. So with our famous, let's say, alumni that are now design and marketing professionals. So I ask you to, Marie Pierre, before leaving the floor, just a quick introduction. If you don't talk, I ask you girls to mute your microphone, and otherwise we hear background noises. So I leave you the floor, the word, Marie Pierre, so you can introduce our former students, and I welcome everyone from my side. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Giuseppa. So good afternoon, everyone. Again, as you could see that for those of you who joined 5 minutes ago, we were already now chatting back with Caroline, Netijyata and Pra. So I don't want to introduce themselves. Well, the only thing I can say is how we went about now creating this webinar with Giuseppa. The idea was to have people working in the same industry, from different years, from different also different masters, because they will tell you about their experience in Domus, but they have not, all three have not studied in the same master. And we thought it was nice to connect not necessarily people from the same year, but again from different continents, so that you can hear about what has been their path before Domus, what has been their path after Domus, what is still today probably the influence of Domus, and what is the influence of Domus on how they look at their job, and they deal with challenges, everyday working challenges, and maybe also an opportunity for you to discover an industry. So we thought of it of now having 3 people working in different jobs in the same industry, because we always realize that now there are so many new jobs, so many new opportunities, that I think that you're quite thirsty to understand now what is it that now a communication brand manager does, as Caroline, what is it that somebody working now in e-commerce is doing, etc. But I don't want to introduce too much of the topic. So That's why I wanted to hear about the three wonderful alumni that we have, alumni and friends, because I know I repeat myself each time. But what is beautiful about Domus is that it's such a tight-knit community. We live so many intense things for 1 year that those relationships evolve, but they always stay. They stay, they turn into friendship, they turn into mentorship. And I think that's what also one of the little treasures of Domus, beyond the extraordinary experiential learning path. So that being said, either Pra or Neti, don't be too polite with each other and tell us who you are, your size, your height. Now, what you did before, what you studied in Domus and when, and then what's your current job. Then don't worry, I have lots of questions for you.
Okay, Praatika, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. Cool. So hi guys, hi everybody. It's actually technically night here. I mean late evening. So yeah, good evening everyone. And it's so nice to like connect. Like it's connecting the dots, but it's like literally it's so nice to like. I mean, Marie Pierre, I'm seeing you again. Like we connected like last month, I think, with all the other fellow batchmates of our course. So yeah, I'm Praatika, and I was part of Domus Academy's luxury brand management cohort 2016-17, graduated in 2017. Currently, I'm working with Nykaa.com, which is India's leading beauty commerce platform. So just to give you a quick reference, like how we have globally, Sephora is there. In India, the biggest platform that we have is Nykaa.com, and it's both online and offline channel, e-commerce platform as well. We have like offline stores for our customers. Over 1,000 brands in the portfolio. We were one of the first players to get like international renowned brands like Huda Beauty getting a great establishment with Estee Lauder company and the entire portfolio of the brands coming on board with us. I'm looking after a set of brands which are part of the natural category. And yeah, the journey has been really exciting. Before Domus, I was actually in a different field completely. The reason why I came to Domus was to get a better understanding of what brand management is, what marketing is. Like I said, I was working as a fashion writer. That was my undergrad education, and and completely switched lanes and for the better. So much, a lot of learning happened. It really like Domus opened a lot of avenues in terms of, what career paths you can explore. And so that's a quick introduction of, I hope, a brief one about what my path has been with Domus and after Domus and before that. So yeah.
How long have you been working before coming to Domus?
Before coming to Domus, I was working for a year. Approximately a year. And this was again like I don't know, there's some association with e-commerce because again I was as a fashion writer, I was working with now.com, it's primarily a fashion retail online store. And before that, I was interning with Vogue India. So that was a great opportunity for me to sort of, just hone my craft in terms of writing and understanding how the digital world works. So yeah, 1 year I was working before I entered Domus.
Okay. Neti?
Hi, my name is Netijyata, but Niti is fine. I am too from India, and I was in the Domus batch of 2014. I graduated
No, really?
in 2000. Yes.
It's been such a long time. Okay,
Yes.
I keep
So
quiet.
yeah, I graduated in 2015, and funnily, till I came to Domus, until I came to Domus, I had no intention of getting into the beauty industry. I mean, when I came to Domus, the idea was to really, get into the heart of luxury, like heritage luxury, which was Italy, and I wanted to join a brand like Prada or Dior or things like that. But when I really came to Italy, and on weekends I used to go to Sephora and everything, I saw a completely different side of beauty there. Like the consumers then when you go to the to the Duomo and you see all these brands with their stores there. We never saw that in India because India is still in a very nascent stage in terms of beauty. But there is, what I realized that before a customer, I don't know, maybe buys a Chanel bag, they'll buy a Chanel lipstick to really enter the world of luxury. And then I, slowly realized that to actually sell a Chanel bag, maybe there's, it's more of the lifestyle. It's not really marketing per se. Like you'll put an ad, in Vogue or do some digital stuff, but nothing more. But when it comes to beauty, you are really, taking every step with the consumer. You're creating products for them, what shades they want, what pricing you can have. So I think that way it was really consumer centric. And honestly, the reason I decided to go into beauty was because I felt like there's not much I'm going to be able to do, if I get into leather goods. Because I'm not a designer, I come from a marketing, background. And I think, yeah, that was the entire bit. And I think once I got through with Domus, I knew for the fact I either wanted to get into Estee Lauder or L'Oreal. For L'Oreal, they wanted an MBA and I didn't have an MBA. But then I wrote to everyone at the Estee Lauder company, from the Italian head office to the New York head office to the Middle East head office, and then they put me in touch with the Indian head office. And I think within a month of returning back to India, I moved to Bombay from Delhi. And I joined the Estee Lauder companies, and I started looking after, as a marketing coordinator at the fragrances portfolio. So Tom Ford, Michael Kors, Xenia, Jo Malone London, all these brands. And then I got promoted to the marketing executive for Smashbox and Glamglow. I launched both these brands here in India. Led marketing for them for about 1.5, 2 years. Then I left Estee Lauder and took some time off to really decide what I wanted to do next. And then I felt like there were a lot of homegrown brands that were coming in that probably had a product, but really didn't know how to, really navigate the market, how to speak to the consumer. So then I set up my own consultancy, which is, and I'm working with about 3 or 4 brands right now. I mean, they're much smaller in terms of budgets and everything as compared to Estee Lauder, but I think the fact that people are taking beauty seriously now, and the fact that, they know that it's an industry that will make you money, it's great to, work in the beauty industry. So I think Domus had a really big part to play, where I could see the beauty industry from a corporate side and not just a consumer side. So yeah.
So proud. Amazing. Wow.
Thank you.
Caroline, let's do, we do a round and then I go back to you now.
So I'm Caroline, I'm Canadian. I studied in Domus in 2010-11. It's been a little while. And before Domus, I had been working for 6-7 years in Canada in a PR agency, and then at L'Orèal for 3 years in communications. And for me, Domus was also, it was, going back to school, but like L'Orèal had told me you don't really need to go to like pursue your study to do that. So it was also a personal project. I found the program was really different from everything else I was looking at, MBAs, like everything you need to check marks on your CV. And since I already had a job, it was not really what I was looking for. So I went for a decision with my art. And I think what it changed is also the way I solve problems. So the way I look at problems, the way I can map things when working with other people. So now that I'm still with L'Orèal, but I was at the headquarters in Paris, and now I'm on the local job in Paris since 1 year. And many things we've discussed when I was doing my master's, like customizations, personalizations, gaming, like all those trends. When I joined L'Orèal at the international, so that was like in 2015, these were the topics we were talking about. Like, so that was, I was like, wow, we were like pretty ahead of time. We're not realizing how ahead we were, because these were things we were talking every day. And then when I go to presentations and, gaming is coming. No, gaming, like we were talking about gaming 5 years ago. So sometimes I wish I was a little mouse or a little bird and I was in the classrooms to hear the conversations that are going on right now, because I feel that I would be much more ahead than what we discuss in the company. But it's still very interesting to have this background. And I think for me, it was also a way to reconnect with my creativity. When you have been working for like a few years, you use PowerPoint, so you like don't use like design softwares. You solve problems a certain way. Like you're more like I would say square in your way of thinking. And I think that Domus made my mind maybe like more round. So then it was like maybe easier to like do like presentations that look good, or like map projects, and maybe other side projects as well. Like I would not, maybe in the future, I would see myself having my small company. Like this is something I have in mind. I don't know if there's L'Oréal people we're hearing in the room, but we are all entrepreneurs at L'Oréal. So this
no,
also
you can do a
goes with the mindset.
startup. You can do a startup that gets incubated by L'Oréal. No, there's nothing
Exactly.
incompatible. I think
Exactly.
that now we see that now in the beauty industry, you see lots of now L'Oréal is still there. They're all kind of now catching up with innovation, and the best and the fastest way to do that is to consolidate and to buy smaller companies. Caroline, do you want to say two words? Because I remember that between Domus and going back to L'Oréal, you had a more entrepreneurial experience. Now you did some consulting, you did, and I think again, in this idea of showing that the path before, after Domus is never, it's never fluid. No, the journey, that a career journey can really take some meanders. And so just tell the people who are listening to us what you did in between.
Totally. I agree. It's not linear. So when I finished my master's, I had my job in Canada that was waiting for me. And in the meantime, I had met a boyfriend in Italy.
I remember.
Nantia had met him. So I decided also, I think I didn't want to go back to the same shoes. Like my L'Oréal had been kind enough to hold my job. It's a really good company. I love what I was doing, but I think going back to exactly the same place where I was something I didn't see myself doing. So I worked a little bit for a small agency in Milan, but afterwards, for like, first of all, visa reasons, I had to freelance and start my own little business. And that's when it became interesting. So I started consulting for a startup based in California, doing Skype. So we were a bit like we did during COVID. We were just doing like webinars and talks and sharing screens and exchanging ideas. I was also working with a small company as well. And I also created a new hotel project, which I would say that was like the best case study of what Domus can bring you. So I had built a new business model, worked with an architect, a interior designer, and I submitted the project to the Radical Innovation Awards. And the project was selected, and then they flew me in Las Vegas to present it, and I won the second prize. So that was quite, I mean, you know, it's something you do in your career, but when you lead a project and you're like, okay, this is kind of like the sum up of everything I've learned during that year, it's quite significant. And I think it's one of the projects I'm most proud of, even if I've managed bigger projects and events here at L'Oréal, but that one, like, it's really something that's part of you, and it's the accumulation of 1 year of experience and learning at Domus.
One question I have for you three now, because tying back to what you just said, Caroline, the idea of I had a job waiting for me. It happens now in when you do graduate programs. Most people, they want to switch careers or change life, or not. And some people now they are called back because now, of course, they have learned very interesting skills that make them super applicable and super desirable for their former employers. And now I didn't want to go back in the same shoes. So the question for you three is how at ease you were in doing things that were a bit outside of your comfort zone. Because now it's not like now some people, they come to Domus and they choose Domus because they are already curious about that. Now it's a fairly different and differentiated program. And how this now made you more at ease by tackling things that now are out of your comfort zone, things that you don't know. So I don't know who wants to now to start to answer. I don't want to be the one that says, no, let's go in. We could go around the clock. So I don't know. Let's start with you.
Sure. In terms of, let's see, like when I was thinking of Domus, I had absolutely no idea what's going to be, you know, packed for me. It's not your regular MBA program. It literally says on the, I mean, you know, it just says that it's business creative coming together. Like, you know, it really merges your two sides of your left brain and your right brain. Both are going to be together, and this is how the path is going to pan out for you. In terms of my journey at Domus, I think it's so important to trust your, I think for me, you were my mentor. Like, you know, the day one, when you just laid out all the facts about what the course has to be, you learn from day one. You have to be adaptable. You have to be open for different experiences. I think the way the course is also structured, like, you know, you have 4 different workshops happening 4 different client briefs coming, and you're like on your toes, and they're, you know, trying to fix brief to brief, and you learn with each experience. So it really instills that value in you, like, you know, to be more adaptable, to be more open for change. And those are the core learnings that, you know, I took from my professional journey or after Domus, because these are the values which you are appreciated and counted for. Like if you are able to, uh, especially like in the startup culture where I am working, it's super important to be flexible. It's super important to be agile. You know, you learn every day. The learning really doesn't stop even after your masters or, you know, your grad school gets over. So yeah, that way Domus did prepare me for that world of unpredictability, or, you know, like you said, it's not a linear journey. It will always be a complex, dynamic journey in terms of. And I was coming from a fashion writing background, so you had I not really trusted what Domus was offering at that point of time, I would have been a different person in terms of my professional growth that way. So yeah.
Neti?
I think for me, you know, there were two things. One was, I think, played a major part was learning how to collaborate, not just within, you know, students from other countries. And I, like Marie Pierre knows, I've had a tough time because I was in a group where nobody spoke English but me. And I was crying a day before my, you know, presentation at Pak Hayat, but I think it was not just that sort of collaboration, because then I started working with international teams. So I used to work with my teams in Paris every day, like, you know, used to have Skype calls and things like that. So a lot of collaboration and understanding of international mindsets, but also collaboration with different courses. So maybe not just luxury brand management, but if something, I don't know, is not my strong suit or somewhere I don't have understanding, I would reach out to somebody in, you know, business development or visual designing. And I think that was a great thing for me, because had I gone to just an MBA school or something like that, uh, that mindset is, you know, very, it's a very strategy driven mindset. And you know how, like Praatika said, this was both creative and strategy, which I don't think a lot of, I think it's um, like how you have business models for, I don't know, businesses. It's more, I think, the ideology of the school that really helped me, you know, at Estee. And today also, I think in terms of that collaboration, but if you're not collaborating within your own teams, or you're not able to collaborate with, say, especially in the beauty industry with retailers and things like that, it can become difficult. And I think the other thing for me, which was, I think, more of a skill based learning, was to really start, you know, owning my creative side. So when I remember when I used to go for presentations, and I come from a very, you know, I come from a mass communication background and not a design background. And at Domus, design is as important as strategy. So I think whenever I used to go to Marie Pierre, she used to always, you know, tell me to look at things aesthetically too. And that became extremely important for me at Estee Lauder, because when you're selling beauty, you know, doing presentations for higher ups, it's really about, you know, how your presentation skills or how your speaking skills really come to play. So I think both these things really help me.
Caroline?
Well, thinking about your question, I think I have the best experience. So this is off L'Oreal, but I started DJing when that was like 2 years ago. So I think, and I'm not sure that someone pointed out to me, actually, a former colleague from L'Oreal, who's now like the general manager of all luxury brands in Canada, and he said, well, maybe if you had not done that school in Milan, you would not be DJing right now. Like, you would never knows. But just to say, like, it really opened my mind and creativity. And, you know, you go like, and you try new software when you're at Domus, like in design, although you're not a designer, you edit movies and stuff. And I think that was the same approach when I started DJing. My friends pushed me into it, and then someone showed it to me, and a bit like you scratch guitar after work, I started the same thing, and I don't know, it picked up, and now I play in different countries. But I think kind of like Domus give you maybe the openness, like I think Praatika, you were mentioning that, but like the open mind, and maybe the fact also not to be ashamed of doing something you've never tried, so to expose yourself, and maybe not to take yourself too seriously. I think that's also the difference between Domus and an MBA school. I think the MBA is more like the square box, although like you stretch your mind. I think an MBA is really, really good. Domus is more like round, and I think it goes and triggers other parts of your personalities. Like it's also a personal development as well.
How important is it not to take yourself too seriously at a job? Because I think that for people who are younger, no, there's this idea that no performance. It's
so much. I think I think my biggest challenge at work is the politics, not the work itself. So sometimes I think that was my biggest challenge actually when I started working in France. In France, it's really, really political. So getting the ideas and showing them is not enough. I would say 80% of it is like convincing the right people and convincing them the right way. So maybe you start with a coffee and then you continue in the office and you finish at the board presentations, but you're not just ta-da with your presentation, because people can be afraid, especially when they see new ideas. So this is the thing with corporations. When people see ideas they haven't never seen, they get a bit afraid because they're like, oh, she's going way faster than I'm going, or like this is too ahead, or how are we going to manage this? This is too different. So yeah, I would say that biggest challenge is probably the politics and convincing.
It's interesting because also this idea of presenting new ideas and not being convincing other people, I think it's typical of a Domus workshop. No, in the sense that usually we have very strong mind, not because we are strongly minded, but because you have the designer that knows that now I'm the designer, so I know how to do this thing. You have the people who have studied marketing, so now the marketing plan, I'm sorry, but the marketing strategy, I know it. And I think that we all have had those clashes. I mean, say we have, because I've seen on both sides now as a student more than 10 years ago, and then as a program leader. But I think it's, and these are the skills that you don't realize, no? You get immersed in them, you don't realize, but then it becomes probably a bit easier. And then I'm sorry, Caroline, that French people give you such a hard time with politics.
But I think it's good for yourself. I think this culture really makes you stronger. And this is why having humor is important, because if you have humor, then you can bounce back, and not taking yourself too seriously helps you navigating into that culture. But it's very different from the Italian culture, actually. It's very, very different. Marie Pierre, you've worked a lot in France for a French company as well, so I think you could attest that as well. It could be interesting to hear your perspective.
Neti, what did you say about taking yourself too seriously or not taking yourself? In the case of Caroline, I think it's super interesting, this perspective of being multicultural and knowing how to navigate. You don't have this cultural clash, in the sense that, but you were working for an international company with teams in France.
We had those clashes. And I'm sorry to say, I also had those clashes with my regional team, which was based out of Paris. But I think it's because no, I mean, I loved working with them, but I think it was also because any industry, at least in a corporation, we've had such a blanket approach to everything, especially in beauty, right? You have a blanket approach to everything, but now it's changing. You're really looking at a granular approach, or what we call in beauty as local relevancy. So I think there, when you really put an idea to, I don't know, a team sitting in LA or in Paris, it takes a lot of convincing. Like I remember when I had to launch the Smashbox India Instagram page, it took a lot of convincing. It took a lot of tears. It took a lot of emails and, late night calls. But I think if you think that, your idea makes sense, I feel like you know your market better than anyone else. You just push through it. And I think sometimes it's okay to take yourself seriously too, because I just feel that how do you convince the other person, right? And there are going to be, and I think there are going to be, some places where you just have to let go of things, and that's also fine. Like, don't be stuck on something too. So I think both those things are fine. And this is more, I think, once you start working, and this is how I learned it. Like, there's no guidebook for this. It's just that you get a sense of it, when I have to hold on to this, and when I think, it's just let it go, it's fine, sort of a thing. So, and
just like any workshop.
Yeah,
just like a workshop. Guys, it's your
exactly
idea.
Like
push for it, and then at some point, it's No, guys, it's not working.
It's not working. And like you have those experiences in Domus because like you said, somebody is a designer, somebody is a marketer, you will have language barriers. And you know, sometimes you really want to push, but if it's not working, maybe it's for the best sort of thing. So you just let it go.
I can see Pra, that's like
You know, it's a flashback of like all the 4 workshops coming in one go, where I'm just like the number of discussions that used to happen about like, no, my idea is right, no, we know better, or like this and that. Oh, this is all coming back, and I'm just like, wow, like reliving those memories. And Caroline, absolutely love your candidness. Like, kudos for that. Like, absolutely. But yeah, like I struggle with not taking myself like, you know, lightly, or however you want to put it. Like that's something that I think the journey started with Domus again, because once again, like if you're in a group of 10 different people with 10 different mindsets and trying to convince like your jury every week after another, yeah, like in a corporate world, like Neti said, it's complete. There's no rule book or a guidebook, and I wish there was. And it just comes with experience and time. You learn to know when to shut up and when to just keep it to yourself and not let your emotions kind of like drive you, because at the end of the day, it's a job. You have to like love it, and you have to do what you do. Like, it's always a new day the next day. So you gotta have that spirit up, but don't let it like bog you down. That's the most important thing. Like, don't let it bog you down. Be it politics, be it hierarchy, whatever it is, you should have that spirit like going. Yeah.
I just have a question for Giuseppa, because I can see that somebody is raising their hand, because I don't see the chat, otherwise I lose my question. And Giuseppa, do you want to, guys, if you have questions, do you want to write them in the chat? And then maybe I don't want necessarily to keep it at the end because it becomes super heavy and super formal, but maybe Giuseppa, you can help us if you think that we need to give the floor to the now to the students or to the people listening to us. How does that sound, Giuseppe?
Of course,
okay.
Yes.
I see that Sanjana has a question, but I don't know the type of question that you have. Now the question I have is really to because I'm also curious. I don't know all those jobs. Okay, it's what I said in the introduction. No, briefly, because we don't want to to bore anyone. But can you explain a little bit what your job consists in? Okay, so not necessarily daily, but and what I'm curious about is the things that you like the most. Now, the things that gets you, Monday morning, you're not like, oh my gosh, my DJing weekend is over and I need to go to work. But because I think that one thing that characterizes, I think also Domus, it's a very passionate environment. I don't know how you feel now, whether you are happy, whether you are struggling, whether it's super emotionally charged. And I think that in order to be successful in a job, okay, we need to have passion. Because otherwise it's just too tough, frankly speaking, and we can all go on a desert island and start to write or I don't know, or think and meditate. So let's start with Caroline. Explain a bit what your job is about, and then the things you really love, and also the things you don't love, but that are part of the job, because I think that now we don't need to make a rosy picture. There's no perfect job.
Yeah, you're right. So after Domus, I had 2 jobs. One was at the headquarters of L'Orèal for Lancôme, so that was for 4 years. And since about a year now, I'm always in communications L'Orèal France. So the international part was doing the communication strategy for the countries, means like huge PR and influencers event. So it's like an experience. You build an experience so people want to take photographs, and then you have buzz on social media and press articles. We did like an exhibit in China, so that was like when I was in international, working closely with China. That was super interesting. Writing press releases. Sometimes you create content, so you go with a photographer in an artist studio and you take photos that will serve the journalist or will be published on social media. Build plans, lots of presentations, strategies, managing budgets. So that was international. We were starting from scratch, and we're providing also guidelines to countries. So China wants to do an event, we're just like sending guidelines. Same thing, Mexico is doing an event, like helping them to make sure that they respect the guidelines. Now I'm in a market, and that's super interesting to switch from market to international to market. So basically, I'm responsible for eventing, social media, communications, advocacy, and influence. So what do we do? There's still events, production of social networks content, social network posts, calendars, influence relationships. We do also social selling with influencers. So they put a link that redirects towards a retailer. We do press relations, so writing press releases, event organizations. Then we work, in this job I work with hair artists, so we try to turn hair artists into advocates for the brand. So build for content for them, help them posting on social media and developing their awareness, strategies, presentation. Yeah, that's pretty it. That's pretty much it.
Just one question. Do you happen to know, I don't know if she's on the Italian market, but a friend of mine who has been a teacher in Domus in some workshops, Melissa Lee. She joined, she's based in Milan, and she's in charge for advocacy, influencer, all those things. But I don't know if it's, I don't know if she's also a market. And you do that for France. So you are focused on the French market, right?
Right now, yes, since a year, yeah.
Okay.
Before that, when you do international, you're kind of like in a think tank. So when I was at international, you do like some big projects, but they require like so much preparations and so much approvals. It's always kind of hard, like a bit like if you were delivering a baby or something like that when you work at international. When I work at markets, you have much more flexibility. So you go faster, you're more reactive, you can be more creative. What I like, it's every time I was put on, I had a new idea and I could build a project almost from scratch or adapt a situation, propose a new idea. So these are my favorite situations. So like right now, we just did a plan for 2021 and I built a project based on the international strategy, but that was kind of like new and stuff. So this is my favorite part, like kind of like mapping, imagining what it could be. And now this week I'm doing the budget, so it's back to like rational. So how much would this cost?
How can we scale it back?
Exactly.
So you do quite a bit of innovation. You do quite a bit of innovation.
Oh yes, you really have to be innovative. And this is, I think, if I look at the industry and how we do things, not only the products innovate, but the way we do things have innovated so much over the last few years. It's changing a lot, like communications, marketing, like you need to keep yourself up to date. It's changing a lot. And I think what I like the least, maybe things, well, I had some, like this is just personal, but I had like lots of like media experience when I was in Canada. So this is maybe like the part that excites me the last because I like the new project. So I'm like, okay, I like this, I know, and I can move some. So like media requests and stuff like that. This is not my favorite part, but it's part of the
Been
job.
there, done that.
Exactly.
Okay. Neti, what do you explain a bit? You've explained a little bit what you did in Estée Lauder. Maybe what you can do, because I think it's super fresh and super interesting. And also because you have probably to invent yourself a little bit of a methodology, having your own consultancy. So
Correct.
Tell us a bit about that.
So I think, one side of it is obviously being a marketing manager to the brands that I work with. Really guiding them as to maybe they have the product, but to really how to, get to the consumer. What sort of strategy needs to come there, what sort of pricing needs to come there, basically what your go-to market strategy needs to be for that product or, for the brand. So like a lot of brands that I work with, they have the product, but they probably lack the storytelling of the product and the brand. So a lot of my time actually, goes in working with brands to help them with their go-to market strategy. Sometimes I'll get requests like, maybe somebody just wants to start a beauty brand, but they don't know, how to start or what category to get into. As in, should they get into skincare? Should they get into makeup? Should they get into personal care? So, doing all that bit. So a lot of it is like your core marketing bit, but because I started something of my own, it's a lot of pitching also. So, finding the brands that I want to work with, and pitching them. It's not just pitching them, just picking up the phone and telling them that, I want to work with you. Obviously, having Estee Lauder as a tag really helps. But it's really, and this is how I do it. I see probably what is wrong or what can be done, to a brand or to the company, and that is how I send out my pitches. So a lot of my time also goes in finding the right brands where I think I can, really
Bring
help them.
value.
Exactly, because there are a lot of brands, in India right now. Globally, you see brands popping up left, right, and center. But are these brands like really sustainable? Is also, because when you're pitching, you're putting considerable amount of time in doing market research. What sort of brand is it? How can you distinguish it from, So it's basically creating a mini marketing strategy for them before you pitch to them. So that takes a lot of time, and I try and look for brands where I also think, um, I can learn something. So at Estee Lauder, it was a lot to do with branding and storytelling, but somewhere because I think legacy brands are a little late to digital. But the brands that I'm working with right now are all D2C brands. So they're extremely, they're digital first. So from that standpoint, even I get to learn a lot, and that is the, sort of relationship I want to build with my clients. That it's always two way. I can give you the insights about the beauty industry, but let me also see what I can learn from you. So yeah, it's I think it's wearing a lot of different hats at once. You sometimes are the marketing manager, sometimes you have to be the communication person. What influencer to work with, which retailer to partner with, and then a lot of it is also like about building the business, reaching out to new people. So yeah.
Super interesting. Huh? What do you like best, and what do you do? So you said because no, we feel like we all know about e-commerce, but
I'll be honest, I feel like I'm a full-time mom to my brands. Like when you're handling a portfolio of like 20 or 30 odd brands, you end up becoming a mother. Like you're so passionate about your babies, you like daily checking, is my baby fine? Is my baby growing? Is it sustaining? Is it like surviving? And like yeah, you get so passionate and attached to it. But yeah, like what just hearing the other two girls, like what I realize is that even we're in different industries or whatever companies for that matter, we have like similar roles for that matter. Like how Caroline highlighted, like looking after the social media strategy, looking after like figuring out the right influences for them. How Niti pointed out that a lot of brands also need hand holding. You have to sort of just chart that, sort of navigate that space for them to make them see what the beauty scape is all about, and how they can grow. So essentially, if I have to really summarize, like it's a lot of ideation that goes into the job. There's a lot of strategy behind it. It also takes a lot of convincing of different groups of people. Like the stakeholders are like at every stage for that matter. Like especially when you're working with e-commerce, you have like stakeholders internally, but you also have like your external brand partners. So a lot of convincing, a lot of talking, a lot of presentations, and yeah, like you have to deliver at the end of the day. And like I said, I feel like a mom of these 2021 brands. So yeah.
how big are your teams? How many people do you work with around you, or do you have people working for you?
Immediate team, like we're like a 10 of us in my category, but overall the company is pretty huge. Like we run in like thousands for that matter. But just my category team, like we're 10 of us here in the Gurgaon office, which is in the capital itself.
Caroline, how many people do you have with you?
So we have lean organizations, and now we're starting to organize ourselves by what they call petals, so more like a flower instead of a pyramid.
Of course.
Yes, exactly. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I have 3, 4 persons below me, and I work in a team of 20 persons.
And can you explain this concept of petals? Because I think also this is super interesting now.
Yeah.
I think I'm a consultant, but I'm not always into big organization and corporate things. So I also understanding how companies organize themselves to keep learning, because in Domus it's not done because of that, but the structure of the workshop, the structure of the learning path makes it that whether you want it or not, you keep changing teams, and so that forces a bit the learning. Okay, and it's a super unique experience. But the petal thing, tell me.
I mean, it's a bit like Domus, actually. You know, like especially in France, like big organizations were used to be organized like pyramids. So you have like very hierarchical, and also the way of doing things was very hierarchical with approvals and processes. And now they change, and you have what they call brand business leaders, and things are organized by project. So if you have like, so we have a brand business leader who's a bit of a coordinator, like manager, but coordinator with lots of expertise. So you have like one person who does like digital e-commerce, one person communications, one person who does the like retailers relationships, one person who does the product, the marketing, and all the teams kind of like equal. So everyone, it's not just like a pyramid, but they're all around the flower, and everyone works together to build a strategy with one coordinator in the center, who's also a bit manager. But the idea is not that person in the center is not manager like in the old
not
way.
Top down, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's more like an integrator of all those skills and expertise around him. So this is what they call marketing 3.0, like 3.0 marketing. And I think it's a quite interesting way and very Domus-like way of organizing teams and projects. So you waste less time, because what happens in big organizations with pyramids, like big boss asks N-1 to do something, and -1 asks my N- to do something, and then the thing got done by an intern. So like it goes down 6 levels. And then get verified 6 times, and then it goes back up. So this is really ineffective and a very useless way of using resources.
Super interesting. Pra, how is your organization? You feel like it's a bit more, because you said it's more like a startup, so it keeps changing. You keep having new mentions every day, I guess.
I think it's far beyond. To be honest, it's like an 8-year-old company, you know, so we've sort of like, I think it's time we're far beyond the startup tag. But yeah, like it's similar to what Caroline is mentioning. Like it is like a flower structure. Like, you know, you have one person in the middle who's looking after, who's an integrated leader more or less, and then you have different people and also different teams working around you, right? You're not just it's not that I'm just working with brand management, which is what my department is. I'm also interacting with the marketing department, the inventory department, the social media, of course, which comes under marketing. But there are different people that you sort of collaborate with. So it's sort of like in my head, it is technically a hive. Like, you know, all the worker bees are coming together, getting the juices right there. But yeah, like, I think the petal structure is the closest that I can describe. It's not top down. But yeah, it's a flat structure, and everyone comes together and we work as a team. Yeah, that's how we are organized.
Neti, and I guess now you are your own petal. Now you are the game board, whatever. No, you do everything. How was it? When did you leave Estée Lauder? A couple of years ago? 1 year ago?
1 year, I think it's been about, yeah. I left in May of last year. But I think at Estée also we had a very similar, approach. Like you have the brand teams and then you have corporate teams. So essentially the brand teams take the final call. And we were India as an affiliate was really small in terms of capabilities, but we were doing everything that, you know, bigger markets were doing because we were growing at a crazy pace. Essentially the brand teams take the last call, and you have corporate communication teams, you have the inventory teams and things like that. But I think the only thing would be because we were an affiliate market and, you know, not the global market, and this is, I think, in every big corporation, not just Estée Lauder, there would be some, you know, inefficiencies when you would send your projects for approvals and things like that. For them to come back from global and stuff like that, or your regional teams, because I think in their defense, they also have to vet a lot of things, because you want the global identity to be the same throughout the world. So I think that was just that bit, but otherwise I think any industry for that matter, and especially the beauty industry, there's a lot of collaboration, because if you see I don't think only one person can give that idea. So it's always like if you're doing social media today, or if you're doing influencers, it's always the communications team and the marketing team really discussing what is the right approach to it. So I think collaboration is the key thing for it was for me at Estee Lauder, and even right now I think the fact how I work with founders is also, it's more of collaboration, right? It's not that I tell them because I'm from the industry this is the right thing to do, or because they are founders they tell me that this is the way I'm going to do it. It's always going to be back and forth, and I think that is something like really great about this industry. There's a lot of collaboration from different people who hold different roles. So if you're in tech, if you're in communications or inventory, things like that, it's everyone comes together.
Yeah, I think it's a great industry, super fascinating. It's fast paced. So basically it's like now fast moving consumer goods. Now it's not like, as you were saying, Neti, it's not yeah, we launch a collection. It's going to take 2 years now. The watch, now the new watch, we've been now in R&D for even if those categories are also accelerating. And I think what is fascinating is also what you were saying about the consumers, no? Consumer trends, consumer behaviors, consumer needs, super fast. So the question I have for you now is, because things are changing all the time, so there's the tech part, okay, and the digital, so there's an aspect of expertise, and then there's consumers that every 6 months they feel like, every 4 months they want something new. I don't know if it's linked with Domus, but did Domus live with you in terms of methodology, curiosity? How do you get up to speed, or how do you stay up to date? Because I mean, what I remember being a manager is that you are so much on execution, then you have the budget, and you have the planning and the strategy. But basically, between your meetings, the things you have to do, there is a little less time, okay, to be curious and to stay, okay, I focus and I want to try something new. And if something Domus taught me, because I had been working probably much more than you, even more than Caroline at the time, was this: that if I ever go back to a career in a corporation, I want to make sure that I keep the time to learn, to be curious. I don't know do you feel the same? And what are the little, I don't know, not tips, but things that you, habits that you developed in Domus and that you feel you kept after?
I think one thing,
yeah.
for sure. I think one thing would be that, at Domus, and even in any job, you'll always, there'll always be firefighting. You'll always have 30,000 things to do. You'll have admin work to do that you don't like, but you have to do it. But at the end of the day, I think it's a lot about prioritizing and seeing if it's really making sense for you right now. And the same thing was, at our Domus workshops. So you have a lot of ideas, you want to do a lot of them, but you really have to like prioritize if, this job or this idea is really making sense to you, because honestly, that firefighting will never stop. So, even if you are doing like one workshop, you'll still have to, maybe do some research work, or maybe you're in your internship or things like that, whatever. You just have to really prioritize what is important, and then, go ahead. And I think one thing would be to really like set some time apart about what you really like about the industry. And what happened was, like when I joined Estee Lauder, before that I used to, do a lot of research and reading on the industry in general, but then it stopped. But I think it starts affecting your thinking also if you don't know like what's going around you, and if you just have that, if you're only in your own company or things like that. So I think it's really important to take that time out to do some digging up as to what is actually happening in the industry, and do that digging yourself. So, and I think it's great time, for yourself to really get out there and see for yourself what is happening, and not just see data and reports and things like that. So yeah, I think prioritize, because that's going to be the most important thing.
Caroline?
I relate a lot to what you were saying. It's true that this is like nourishing yourself is like super important, and I think it comes from like a routine. So you look, you go on social media, there's some blogs or articles like you're following. Then the companies also feed you. At L'Oréal, we're pretty lucky right now. Like with COVID, it accelerated. We have access to a lot of webinar, like on TikTok or like new trends, new event trends. So I think I could be in training all day if I would want to. But I think it comes from like external, like talking with colleagues, even from different industries, doing some benchmarks on social media. So some of them with purpose and some of them without purpose, like just like randomly, like staying aware of what's going on, being curious, and being fed by the company. I would say it's a combination of those three.
Pra?
Definitely. I mean, like, during Domus, we had like in the same group, there may be people like from business development or like fashion media and luxury or communication design for that matter. And you just learn a lot from people, like just by interacting with them. And that's one thing that even in my career that has helped me a lot. When you talk to your industry insiders or you talk to your brand partners, it gives you a perspective of what's happening around the world. Of course, like keep your eyes, ears, and everything open. Like it's important to stay up to date as to what's happening around you, but sometimes you tend to get lost. Like, you can't be like looking at the numbers every day and looking at the trends every day. You need to have like an outside conversation also, and just understand how the other partners are like, what are the trends they are seeing, or like, what are the new things that they are coming up with. And you learn so much, like, and also most importantly, what your customers are saying, because in today's time, we have with like platforms like Instagram, for example, like the comment section is so powerful. Like you can really, like, if you just tune in a little bit, they'll give you so many insights as to what they want, what they're loving, what trends that they want to explore, what brands they want, for us to bring to India, for example. So it's important to just hear and like listen to your customers. Like as simple as like going to your product page and like looking at the reviews. Like you learn so much. Like the spray is not working, maybe it should be a different nozzle. Things, small things. These are like basic insights which you can just go back and take to your brand partner, and it can just change the entire experience. So yeah, listen, read, but and yeah, find different ways to gather knowledge, not just like news outlets or like industry reports, but like maybe yeah, talk to your experts and your customers.
Any advice? Giuseppa, you need to help me because I'm super talkative. I'm super interested. I'm learning a lot. I love it. So Giuseppa, keep the moderator role if we have questions, okay? And also the time, because I want to be mindful. I know that there are so many webinars. I don't know, how long was the last one on COVID, the one that you had last week, Caroline? You need, guys, it's the audience. They need to tell us now in your media diet how long you want those webinars to be, because after we lose we lose your attention.
We had 45 minutes last week, I think.
Okay, 5 minutes left. Okay,
40, yeah.
So what I want to what I want is advice that you have for the people who might be studying now or maybe soon to study. I don't know exactly the composition of the audience, but for sure we have some existing students, and then also probably people who might be curious either about the industry or about Domus. So couple of advice that you have for them based on your experience, Domus or not Domus, huh?
I just think like if you want to get into this industry or any industry for that matter, I don't think any role is small. Just go for it. Don't think like when I started with Estee Lauder, I started as a temporary employee, and for me in my head was like, I'm a master's graduate. Why do I have to be a temp employee? But you don't know what is the inside structure of the company. And within a year, I was, I got promoted to a marketing executive, and it's fine. So I know that, when you start young and things like that, these questions bother you, and it did bother me that time. But it's really fine to start with, any role that you get into, because, this industry is changing so quickly. There are new designations that are being created every day. So you never know, which role will you have next. So if you want to join this industry, just go with any role that you get into right now, because like we've been talking, everything is very collaborative in this industry. You can switch from communication to marketing, very soon. Say if you want to get into the digital bit, from communication to digital also, it happens really quick. So just don't look at the designation, just probably look at, your job description as to you get to do a lot of stuff, is really get your hands dirty.
Ciao. Ciao, everyone.
Ciao,
Thank you for
ciao.
staying with us.
Bye.
Have a
Thank
lovely
you.
Bye.
night for those of
Thank
you.
you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.